This is the Yocal Idaho Midweek Report, where we give you a quick overview of the news in Idaho for the last week. This week we'll start off by talking about traffic and roads and stuff, specifically in the Treasure Valley, but just in general. Then we'll be moving to northern Idaho with some different news about the Cougar Mountain Lodge that has gone up for sale, plus some other super interesting things. And then an update also on roads and water things happening in eastern Idaho, because they seem to be taking quite a lot of the news lately. Starting off with our first story here, ITD addresses traffic congestion on State Highway 55 with short-term and long-term plans. This comes by Idaho 6 News by Cooper McCanleys. The Idaho Transportation Department, or ITD, is taking action to address the increasing traffic demands on State Highway 55, or SH55 if you want to shorten it down, particularly at the Banks and Lowman Road intersection during the summer months. ITD is implementing short-term measures and developing a long-term solution to alleviate the congestion that kind of occurs there. ITD will install temporary traffic signals at the Banks-Lowman Road intersection this year. ITD will install temporary traffic signals at the Banks and Lowman Road intersections this year as an interim measure to deal with the congestion there. Concurrently, the department is working on an environmental assessment, site design, and stakeholder collaboration to create a comprehensive intersection plan. This long-term solution will include bridge widening and road expansion to accommodate a permanent traffic signal, although the funding for the construction has not yet been secured. Until then, the interim signals are in place, with the ITD providing flagging at the intersection during peak travel days throughout the summer, including Father's Day, all-day Sundays in July, and the first and second Sundays in August, and on Labor Day, of course. By addressing both the immediate and future needs, ITD aims to improve the traffic flow and safety along State Highway 55, ensuring a better driving experience for residents and visitors alike heading on up north to McCall or coming down to the Treasure Valley. And speaking of construction and kind of building things here, our next story here is Idaho Company aims to ease the housing crisis with modular construction. This comes by KTVB7 by Justin Core. Audit, a Nampa-based company, is striving to make home building more affordable and efficient by using automation and creating modular housing. With a 400,000 square foot facility and a team of 285 employees, Audit focuses on building multi-story, multi-family apartments, one module at a time. Rick Murdoch, the CEO and co-founder of Audit, explains that robots do 90% of the construction work, providing precision and speed while addressing the kind of significant construction worker shortage that's occurring there. The modular approach allows for simultaneous construction phases, with all work being done under one roof and out of the weather. Although modular homes currently make up about 7% of the home building industry, Murdoch believes that the method will become more prevalent in the future due to its efficiency and affordability. Audit's modular housing can save consumers up to $100 per square foot in high-cost market areas, making it an attractive option for affordable housing projects. While automated modular housing may not be the sole solution to the housing crisis, especially here in the Treasure Valley and nationally, Audit aims to contribute positively by making housing more affordable and plentiful, ultimately helping to provide people with an address they can call home. And speaking of homes and people that have grown up here in Idaho that are doing some pretty amazing things, Meridian High School graduate pins on new rank in the U.S. Space Force. This comes by KTVB7 by staff. Major General James E. Smith, a native Idahoan and a graduate of Meridian High School, is set to make history as the first graduate to fill a direct or vice director role on the Joint Staff. Smith, currently serving as the Assistant Deputy of Chief of Space Operations for Operations, Cyber, and Nuclear, will pin on his new rank later this month, assuming the position of Vice Director for Joint Force Development. Smith's journey began in 1991 when he graduated from the Meridian High School, inspired by his grandfather, with whom he shares a name. Smith joined the Air Force and graduated as a top graduate from the United States Air Force Academy in 1997. Although he did not pursue a career in flying, Smith found his passion in aeronautical engineering, which led to a 20-year career in the Air Force, working on space programs and operations. When the U.S. Space Force was established in 2019, Smith transitioned to the new service, seizing the opportunity to continue working on national space issues with renewed focus on defending space capabilities. Smith credits his Idaho upbringing for shaping his perspective, teaching him the value of hard work, perseverance, and the importance of preserving freedom and the benefits of the American way of life. And speaking of the American way of life, milk and dairy is one of those things, and it is definitely here in Idaho. Idaho's dairy prowess, Ballard cheese, showcases state's dairy excellence. This comes by the Boise Dev by staff. While Idaho is famous for its potatoes, especially, we also rank third in the nation for dairy production. Ballard Cheese, a family-owned artisanal cheesemaker in Gooding, Idaho, exemplifies our dairy excellence. Steve and Stacy Ballard, first-generation farmers, moved to Idaho in 1995 with no prior dairy experience. Determined to succeed, they built a barn, bought used equipment, and started milking cows. Realizing the challenges on turning a profit on the milk market, the Ballards began researching cheesemaking, and in 2024 started producing cheese. Today, Ballard Cheese offers more than 11 varieties of artisanal cheese and a line of cheese curds, all made exclusively from the milk produced by their local Jersey cows. The family's old-fashioned cheese-making process results in more flavorful cheese compared to larger manufacturers, as you can guess, put a little bit more love in that there. Ballard's built a following by selling their cheese at the Boise Farmers Market and now offers their product at various local grocery stores and restaurants. As Stacy Ballard puts it, quote, "We're just a small artisanal cheese maker trying to make the best quality product we can at a reasonable price so that everyone can enjoy it." Which, if you've liked cheese and enjoyed the Midweek Report thus far, do us a favor and hit the like button on YouTube, Rumble, or Twitter. It helps us reach more folks who love Idaho just like you. And speaking of things we all like to talk about, money and school, the two things that we just can't get away from in life. Kuna School forced to cut $5.7 million in the wake of rejected levy. This comes by Idaho 6 News by Cooper McCanley. The Kuna School District is grappling with the challenges of balancing its budget after voters rejected a $5.3 million levy in the May election. The district, which met on June 3rd to discuss the necessary changes, is now tasked with cutting $5.7 million in spending over the next 2 years. For the upcoming 2024 to 2025 school year, the district plans to reduce spending by approximately $2.5 million. This will involve the elimination of 24 to 26 positions and the temporary closure of a wing at the Hubert Elementary, with affected students being relocated to the Indian Creek and Rose Elementary schools. Additionally, for budgeting field trips and for busing, that will get cut to a certain degree. The board has yet to determine how to cut an additional $3.2 million in costs for the following year. As the Kuna district navigates this financial situation, the community can expect significant changes in the coming year as the district works to balance the budget in the face of a failed levy. And coming back to our favorite organization, they've taken up several spots on here. ITD proposes variable speed limit on Eagle Road during peak hours. This comes by the Boise Dev by Sydney Kidd. The Idaho Transportation Department, or ITD, has presented a plan to the Meridian City Council to implement a new safety measure on Eagle Road, one of Ada County's busiest roads. The proposed changes include removing certain unsignalized middle lane turn-ins, posting new signage, and installing variable speed limit signs as part of a pilot program. The variable speed limits would change the speed limit from 55 to 45 during peak rush hours, especially between 7 a.m. ITD officials believe these changes will create the, quote, biggest benefit, end quote, in terms of safety on the road, which sees approximately 60,000 vehicles a day and around 400 crashes a year. However, some Meridian City Council members, including John Overton and Liz Strader, expressed disappointment with the proposed changes, stating that they would prefer a permanent reduction of the speed limit to 45. They also raised concerns about the duration of the reduced speed limit during rush hour, suggesting it should last at least 4 hours during each window. The Idaho Transportation Board will meet next week to discuss the proposed safety measures, and an open house will be held in the coming months to gather public input on the changes for Eagle Road. And then speaking of something that doesn't need roads at all and getting away from the traffic because I've had plenty of time in it and I don't want any more, Idaho entrepreneur launches drone-based agricultural surface. This comes by the Boise Dev by Ann Daly. As we all know, Idaho's agricultural industry continues to evolve, like most things in this world right now. Drones are becoming an increasingly valuable tool for farmers across the Treasure Valley and the nation. Hubel AgDrone, a new company based in Weiser, yes, love to hear things about Weiser, is at the forefront of this technological shift, using drones to spray pesticides and herbicide on crops. Founded by Brendan Hubel, a young entrepreneur with a passion for aviation and agriculture, Hubel AgDrone offers farmers a more efficient and environmentally friendly alternative to traditional crop dusting methods. The company's 2 drones can spray up to 60 acres per hour, allowing farmers to quickly protect their fields against pests while minimizing the waste and environmental impact. Hubel, a licensed flight instructor and Idaho National Guard member, developed an appreciation for farmers growing up in Weiser. His father, who joined the company as its first employee, yay dads, has been instrumental in helping Hubel make informed decisions for the business. The company has already seen success, recently spraying 1,200 acres in new meadows to combat the crosfoot, a weed that threatens grass that cows eat on there. With plans to expand its fleet to 4 drones next season, Hubel Drones is poised to play a significant role in the future of Idaho's agricultural industry. With plans to expand its fleet to 4 drones next season, Hubel AgDrones is poised to play a significant role in the future of Idaho's ag industry. And speaking of newfangled things that use electricity, Boise City Council considers new contract with Lime for e-scooters and e-bikes. This comes by the Boise Dev by Margaret Carmel. Boise, the capital of the city of Idaho, if you weren't aware, has seen significant change in its e-scooter system over the past year. In 2022, as we reported on, the city of Boise decided to sign a contract with a single e-scooter operator, Lime, instead of allowing multiple companies to compete on the streets. This move aimed to give the city more control over the number of e-scooters and e-bikes, their parking, and their distribution throughout the city. Since Lime took over last July, the system has logged an impressive 433,000 trips, with a quarter of users reporting that they replaced their car trip with an e-scooter ride. The average trip duration was about 1.2 miles, and the city has seen an increase in trips outside of the downtown core. The Boise City Council is now considering signing a second year-long contract with Lime, which will include some changes such as a slight increase in ride costs and an introduction of a pilot program for a designated e-scooter parking areas. These parking zones, mostly located in downtown Boise, but also along major transit corridors and near the Boise State University, aim to keep these sidewalks clear for pedestrians and ensure compliance with the Americans with Disability Act. Which, if you had no idea that Lime had an exclusive contract with the city of Boise for e-scooters, please don't hesitate to share it. Your shares help us spread the word about our beautiful state. And speaking of the wonderful downtown Boise that loves to fly pride flags, St. Luke's health system faces backlash over LGBTQ support. This comes by the Idaho Family Policy Center by Blaine Gonzatti. St. Luke's health system, Idaho's largest healthcare provider, is facing criticism from the Idaho Family Policy Center, or IFPC, for its support of the LGBTQ community. The controversy began last year when St. Luke's removed pride decorations after the IPC mobilized thousands of Idahoans to voice their concerns. This year, St. Luke's has intensified its efforts by flying pride flags, sponsoring pride events, and hosting diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, training on LGBTQ pride. An internal St. Luke's DEI memo obtained by the IFPC states that by displaying the inclusive, progressive pride flag demonstrates the healthcare's dedication to inclusivity and draws attention to the health disparities affected by the LGBTQIAIP, whatever elemental P community. The IFPC argues that homosexual behaviors are associated with high risks of health problems, such as HIV, STDs, alcoholism, cardiovascular disease, mental health struggles, and other chronic illnesses. That by promoting and celebrating these lifestyles, St. Luke's is conflicting with the values of many Idahoans and engaging in, quote, woke medical care, end quote. If you agree, the IFPC is urging Idahoans to voice their concerns and tells St. Luke's to stop pushing the LGBTQ agenda onto families in the state by signing its email that will go to St. Luke's. And as I teased earlier, and moving a little bit away from the valley, iconic Cougar Mountain Lodge in Smiths Ferry up for sale. This comes by the Boise Dev by Don Day. The Cougar Mountain Lodge, a beloved landmark in Smiths Ferry, Idaho, is now up for sale. Located along the Payette River on Idaho 55, which is that road that we mentioned earlier that will be getting flaggers, Lodge has been a popular stopover for nearly 90 years, serving as a halfway point between Boise and McCall. The current owners, Patrick and Stacy Willis, who purchased the lodge in 2017, have listed the property and business for $1.6 million. The sale includes the 2.3-acre site, main lodging building, and a storage barn. Cougar Mountain boasts 7 lodging rooms, a 68-seat restaurant, and a convenience store, making a popular destination for tourists and outdoor enthusiasts year-round. The property also features 800 feet of frontage. The property also features 800 feet of frontage on the Payette River, adding to its idyllic setting. The Willises have invested in remodeling and revamping the lodge in recent years, including updating the bar top and the menu. And as we have reported on in the past, the Willises have invested significantly in remodeling and revamping the lodge in recent years. Some of those updates includes updating the bar top and the menu. And speaking, getting back more into serious things and numbers, because, those things love to crush us. Boundary County primary election audit finds no errors. This comes by the Bonner Ferry's Herald by staff. A recent state audit of the primary election in Boundary County, Idaho, conducted on June 2nd, found no errors according to the Idaho Secretary of State's office. The county and 4 of its voting precincts were randomly selected for an audit by the Board of Canvassers in the Idaho State Capitol building. The audit, required by Idaho State statute for even-year primary and general elections, involved a count of the primary elections ballots to compare them with the canvass election results. The ballots were delivered by the Boundary County Sheriff's Office to the Secretary of State's team, and the audit was completed by 1:10 p.m., finding no discrepancies. For those interested, Boundary County saw a 49% voter turnout with 3,959 ballots cast and 237 people registered to vote for the May 21st election. The Secretary of State, Phil McGrain, emphasized the importance of the post-election audit in maintaining transparency and trusts in Idaho's election process, stating, quote, "By ensuring the accuracy of our election results, we reinforce the integrity of our election system so Idahoans can be confident that every vote counts," end quote. The successful audit in Boundary County, along with similar audits in other Idaho counties, demonstrates the dedication and excellence of Idaho's election officials and reinforces the integrity of the state's voting process. And speaking of things going on in northern Idaho, and on a far lighter note, Northern Idaho Town commits to preserving monarch butterfly habitat. This comes by the Bonner County Daily Bee by staff. The small town of Dover in northern Idaho near Sagal has recently been designated as a monarch city in recognition of its efforts to protect and promote the endangered monarch butterfly's habitat. The City Council unanimously voted to accept the designation and set the first week of June as Pollinator Week. Dover, known for its dedication to its natural environment, is home to many native plants, animals, and beneficial insects. Last year, the Kazuki Land Trust and the nonprofit Mighty Monarchs Conservation Group planted several monarch butterfly habitats called Monarch Way Stations in the Pine Street Woods Meadow area. However, due to increased development, pesticide use, and diminished sources of milkweed, the western monarch butterfly population has declined by 98% since the 1980s. To help protect these butterflies, Dover president and local organizations are encouraged to plant native milkweed, the sole food source for developing caterpillars, and other pollinator-friendly plants, while also being mindful of the effects of pesticides. Which, if you didn't know about any of the things we've talked about thus far and want to keep up to date on all things Idaho, make sure to subscribe and follow us so you don't miss any of our future content. And speaking of a thing that's a bit of a hot topic in Idaho and just keeps seeming to swirl around, Eastern Idaho water crisis, negotiation continues as inspection pauses. This comes by several sources. The water crisis in Eastern Idaho continues as the Idaho Department of Water Resources works to address a projected 74,100-acre water shortage for the Twin Falls Canal Company. On June 13, 2024, the IDWR Director Matthew Weavers ordered a pause in compliance field inspections related to the May 30th water curtailment order. as settlement negotiations between the surface water users and 4 groundwater districts are ongoing. The curtailment order, which affects water right juniors to March 31st, 1954, in 6 ground county districts, was issued due to disagreements over approved mitigation plans. While some groundwater users claim they've provided enough storage water to cover their shares of the shortage, IDWR maintains that under the 2009 plan, the Idaho groundwater appreciations were required to provide water to cover the entire shortfall. WR Deputy Director Shelley Kleen expressed hope that the parties can finalize on an agreement which would protect groundwater district members from curtailment. If a settlement is reached, IDWR does not anticipate pursuing enforcement actions against groundwater district members who comply with the mitigation plans for the remainder of the irrigation season. Prior to the pause, IDWR staff had completed inspections for approximately 60% of the curtailed wells, confirming that many groundwater users were complying with the curtailment order. Should the settlement discussions prove unsuccessful, IDWR will be required to resume curtailment enforcement after full communication with the public. And speaking of things that are crises that are happening over there in eastern Idaho, they just seem they can't get a break right now. Teton passed landslide, economic consequences, and alternative routes. This comes by the East Idaho News by Caitlin Hart. The recent landslide and mudslide on Wyoming Highway 22, known as the Teton Pass, has caused a catastrophic failure of the road, forcing its closure and significantly impacting commuters and tourism in the region. The pass, which connects Teton County, Idaho, to Jackson, Wyoming, is a crucial route for over 2,500 Idaho workers who commute daily to jobs in Jackson, contributing to the county's $1.7 billion in travel and tourism-related spending. With the pass closed, commuters must now use alternative routes, such as driving through Swan Valley and Snake River Canyon or taking Wyoming 191 through the national parks. These detours can add significant time to daily commuters, with the journey from Victory, Idaho to Jackson increasing from 40 minutes to nearly 1 hour and 45 minutes. Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon has issued an emergency declaration promising additional resources to begin repairs on the pass. Geologists and engineers are working to develop a long-term plan to rebuilding the road, with the goal of creating a temporary detour within a few weeks. However, there is no estimated timeline for the final reconstruction. Despite the closure, businesses in Jackson, Grand Teton National Park, and Yellowstone National Park remain open, with the city implementing a new commuter system to help alleviate traffic congestion. The economic impact of the pass damage is expected to be substantial, as tourism generates a significant amount of revenue for jobs in Teton County. The economic impact of the pass damage is expected to be substantial, as tourism generates a significant amount of revenue and jobs in Teton County. And coming to our second to last story, and also talking about tough stuff, Twin Falls County ranks toughest for home buyers in Idaho. This comes by KTVB7 by Justin Core. According to NBC's new Home Buyer Index, which rates the difficulty of purchasing a home on a scale from 0 to 10, Twin Falls County is the toughest place to buy a house in Idaho, even more challenging than the Treasure Valley. Surprising there. The index takes into account median home sale prices, mortgage rates, and housing inventory, with higher scores indicating greater difficulty. Nationally, the Home Buyers Index sits at about 82.4, near an all-time high for record, indicating that the past 2 years have been the most difficult period to buy a home in the last decade. In Idaho, the index only rates 14 counties, excluding rural areas and counties with resort towns, which, it's just hard to get that all to fit there. Ada County was rated 71.7, while Canyon County was a little bit lower at 63.3, the second best in the state among the rated counties. Despite the relatively low competition and high inventory compared to other areas in the nation, high costs and interest rates still make it challenging for buyers in these counties. However, Twin Falls ranks as the toughest in Idaho and 27th in the nation, with rising prices, decreased buying power, and a significant affordability gap between the median income and the median priced home. While the index doesn't provide a complete picture of all 44 counties in Idaho, it highlights the difficulty faced by home buyers throughout Idaho and the nation. And coming to our last one, and a fun one. If you stayed with us this far, then you get to enjoy this fun little gem here. Idaho's Bruneau sand dunes recognized for pristine night skies. This comes by KTVB7 by staff. State Park in Idaho has been officially recognized as the National Dark Sky Park by Dark Sky International. The designation, announced by the Idaho Department of Parks and Recreation, comes after 9 years of efforts by the state park to obtain the prestigious certification. To earn the Dark Sky Park status, Bruneau Sand Dunes had to demonstrate exceptional stargazing conditions and pristine night skies. The park, which also is known for its sand dunes and two of Idaho's most powerful telescopes, implemented various measures to monitor and limit light pollution in the area. Since setting its sights on the certification as far back as 2015, the park has taken meter readings, inventoried visible light sources, and upgraded outdoor lighting fixtures, and used a $20,000 grant from the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation. These efforts have helped to protect the park's night sky and ensure an optimal stargazing experience for visitors. Bryce Belbot, Bruneau Dunes Park Manager, expressed pride in the milestone achievement and gratitude for the hard work of park employees, agency staff, and the public support throughout the certification process. And that brings us to the end of the Midweek Report. Thank you for listening to the entire thing. I sincerely hope that you found it enjoyable and valuable. If you like the Midweek Report, make sure to check out the Sunday show where John and I talk about the main stories going on in Idaho and dive into them. This last week we looked at the different pride festivals going around the state and who's funding them and different stuff there. Plus we have a current series which is Idaho Bill Breakdown, looking at the bills that got signed. Also, if we missed any important points or provided incorrect information, please feel free to reach out to us via email at lyimedia@protonmail.com or tweet me on Twitter at @localyocalidaho. With the small team we have, we're not able to cover everything, but we do our best to cover the most interesting and important stories. Thank you for your continued support and assistance. That's all for now. I wish you a fantastic rest of your week. Godspeed.